You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. Welcome to the 7th episode of the mini-series on A Catastrophic Break with Consensus Reality, the record featuring Chris Hanna and friends. On this episode, Chris and I discuss Lost Through Time, originally by Sacrifice. Chris and I talk about the differences in recording this song versus the other Sacrifice song on the record, In Defiance. And then we welcome back James Burton and Jahmeel Russell to talk about their contributions and experiences on this song. Thank you so much for listening. Chris, let's go back to Sacrifice a little bit. We've already talked about, your appreciation of Sacrifice and the fandom. We already heard from Jimmy and Jahmeel a little bit about Sacrifice, but Lost Through Time could not be more different than In Defiance. And I'm wondering if you can talk to me about why you picked this tune and kind of like the process and your thoughts on this one compared to In Defiance.
Yeah, the process was pretty much the same as In Defiance, but I probably felt like I was able to lean into this one a little more because there's a little more room to breathe in this song and a little more time to be in the moment as we were recording or as I was recording my parts. Whereas with In Defiance, I was, there's literally milliseconds to pull off a riff or a vocal part, and then you're off to another highly difficult speed riff or vocal line. So with Lost Through Time, I probably had a little more fun with the guitars and vocals compared with In Defiance, which was, I was kind of sweating it at times and stressing a little more. Although I was really putting an emphasis on fun for both of them, but In Defiance is a real challenge. Lost Through Time is also challenging, but I think it gave me a chance to really savor the process and, like I say, lean into the heaviness and that. And again, I was trying to sing it as a fan, which I think has the potential to sound ridiculous at times, but I don't even care. Like, it was just fun.
You've chatted on your Patreon about your process in the last couple of years of trying to continue to learn new guitar playing strategies and methods. A lot of people who follow your Patreon really love when you talk about like the technical side of what you do to continue to develop and grow with your own instrument. And so I'm wondering with these Sacrifice tunes, if you did anything, if you had to learn anything that you've never done before on guitar, did you do any brand new stuff that you had to like learn for the first time to do In Defiance and Lost Through Time?
I think doing the guitar parts for these two songs, maybe particularly In Defiance, was part of an inspiration for me to think a little more about what I was doing with my right hand, my picking hand. I've never really thought about it at all, and to my own detriment. And because I was having trouble with some of the syncing my right and left hands within Defiance and having to really pay attention, I thought, okay, well, I need to do something about this. Like I think what I was thinking was, okay, well, with propaganda songs, the songs end up in my wheelhouse. I'm probably skipping out on certain things because they're too immediately challenging, and I couldn't skip over them within Defiance. So I thought, well, why don't I figure it out? Why don't I figure out a way to play these a little more convincingly instead of having to punch in everything, and then maybe that will translate into cooler propaganda parts. So it wasn't the only thing that was kind of making me think about that, but I have been working on that, and it's been a really slow grind to improve my right hand picking and syncing it with my left hand. I'm not a natural guitar player or musician, but like I feel like I've made progress over the past few months. And I think Jordan Todd will tell you, and Sulin too will tell you that. It's just that Jordan Todd see it more often in the practice space.
Yeah.
That I think they would agree that there's a bit of a difference. It's like, it's a game of millimeters really. But I think I've gained a couple millimeters in being able to pull off fast picking parts a bit better with more accuracy than I used to be able to do.
Well, that's excellent because, having so many songs that you've already done in your life, keeping it interesting at this point. I mean, is it keeping it more interesting for you whenever you realize that you've like gained a couple of millimeters and you're like, oh, right on. This is really re-inspiring and reinvigorating at this point.
I think so. I think especially because, in the practice space, it's not even limited to new songs. It's like when playing older songs and ballparking them is fine, but every time you don't like really nail something in the practice space, there's this little tiny bit of discouragement that runs through my body. And if I can correct that by correcting, or if I can limit that sense of discouragement and turn it into like these little spurts of encouragement when I pull off a part, because I'm no longer just playing fast parts sloppily, then that will increase my interest in being in the practice space and making songs, and will just increase the overall good vibes in the practice space.
Well, I love that learning Sacrifice tunes in Defiance and Lost Through Time has, a little piece of keeping it fresh for you and keeping yourself growing as a player. So we're going to hear more from James Burton and Jahmeel Russell, who played on the tune Lost Through Time. So let's go to them now, and we'll hear their thoughts on this tune. And we'll be back in a bit. So let's move on to Lost Through Time from Sacrifice. Tell me about learning this one, because this one's a totally different song than in Defiance. It's got like tons of different tempo shifts and just like massive changes throughout. It's like a movement. It's got movements instead of like song parts that like repeat themselves over and over. Tell me about your thoughts on this song in general.
I man, love that song. It's what I gotta say about it, man? I'm thinking about so many things, like the hi-hat part, thinking as a drummer, never mind how awesome the guitar riffs are in that, and the opening, just the opening riffing, and the hi-hat part where it goes pss, pss, tap, pss, pss, tap, pss,
oh
pss,
yeah,
just that fast hi-hat part. As soon as I heard that for the first time, I was like, holy, this is so groovy, like he's playing just this ripping fast thing, and so groovy. And just that was again, what you were saying with the tempo changes and all that. That was when you're practicing that kind of stuff. It's a lot of memorization, I guess, to get really comfortable with that, and making it flow while you're playing along to the track, the original recordings, right? So you're just having to get your memory going and just play it lots. So all these songs I'll never forget from until if I don't listen to these songs for 10 years, I'll turn it on, I'll know it for note the amount of times I've had to play that song.
Yeah.
And it just makes you a better musician playing other people's incredible parts.
Did you play these at home a lot when you were rehearsing for this?
Oh yeah, man. Not at home. I have a jam space down in downtown Winnipeg at the Grain Exchange building. So I would go, 2019, I had a 1-year-old daughter at the time. And she loved when I put her to bed as opposed to mom. No offense to mom. She puts number 2 to bed better than I do. But it would be a lot of late nights, just when everybody else was asleep, I'd leave and go play my drums. And you got Chris Hanna asking you to play it, so you better fucking play good, man. So there was a lot of pressure and a lot of excitement to do all of that. So you just play as much as you can. And it's funny too, there was a downtime too, because Chris invited me to play in wintertime, and then it took till June. So there was it might have been even longer. I can't remember when he asked me exactly, but I feel that it was almost, there was some downtime. They had tours, there was other shit going on, and from the day he asked me, it still took months and months and months before we actually got together. So it was, although we did have one rehearsal.
Really?
Yeah, we did. We got together and had a couple of beers at my jam space, and we got to jam out. And I brought some scotch and forced him to drink some really smoky scotch too. What else? Yeah, so I guess we did have a really cool little rehearsal that I kind of forced myself to be ready for early in time, but then it took a while for us to actually do the recording. So it was a little bit of a break, and then we got back hard. So you practice lots, and then you have this window not to practice and get other stuff going, and then you get back to as soon as you got a date, you're just really cramming in the practice.
Man, that's great that you guys actually had like a live in-person jam though, because what a great memory for you,
Yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
Yeah.
Shines as the sunlight descends.
Amazing. Well, let's talk about Lost Through Time a little bit. Tell me your thoughts on Lost Through Time. So, because this is a way different song than In Defiance, much different style, performance-wise. Tons of really interesting time changes and stuff like that really kind of stand out to me. What are your observations on this tune in general?
Yeah, this one is probably the more challenging of the two. And this one, you can, if you listen to the Sacrifice version, you can hear that Scott's got some runs and stuff in there that were pretty cool. And this is the one where I took Chris's sort of email notes to heart more so, because he was like, I love bass fills, so go crazy with that, if you want. So I was like, okay. And Scott obviously did some runs on that song, and so I tried to, I don't think what I play is exactly what he played, but, and I let Chris know, like, I'm I'm trying to stay true to what he did as I can, but I'm definitely taking some liberties and kind of doing my own thing on a few of the parts, and certainly on the fills that I do. And there's some pretty crazy fast bass runs that I do in that one. And again, that was like really cool because it was challenging and I had to kind of come up with what I was going to do. And I was almost concerned that the second bit of the song where I do runs was going to be almost too much, because because normally I'm always, for me, like playing bass in any band I've ever been in, it's all about the rhythm section as a bassist. It's all about the song first, not me showing off how fast I can. I've always been more about the song. But at the same time, I was like, okay, this is like thrash. And Chris has like said, hey man, do some stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for it, and so I did. And as far as I know, he really dug it, again, I only got positive feedback from him. So I guess it all worked out.
Nice. Yeah. And then I love how this one's like, it's slow and chugging and it's got some time changes. And then it ends with that, just going full speed ahead again. So it goes out with a bang. So it's just a really fascinating way this song's put together to me. It kind of feels like movements and piece, like a musical piece instead of like a song. Do you know what I mean? Like this one is like pretty complex to me.
For sure. And I mean, that's very indicative of thrash in general. I think it's, its origins are, you've got bands that almost straddle the line between black and thrash metal. And then you've got bands sort of pushing the envelope as far as like incorporating progressive type things.
Yeah. And Ryan Green, I think Chris talked about this one time when he was working with Ryan Green for Less Talk More Rock, where Ryan was like, you guys have more like musical pieces, not as much like very straightforwardly structured songs. And the fact that Chris comes from a metal thrash background when he was a kid, that really shines through on a lot of Propagandy stuff. You know what I mean? Where they go through parts, but then they don't tend to really go back very often. Like they don't repeat earlier parts of songs all that much. So I see so much influence from songs like this into what Propagandy went on to do in their own songwriting.
Totally agree. Yeah. Because obviously like the first couple records, it's quite different from, what they started doing after that.
Yeah.
And I remember when they kind of went through that transformation and hearing those records and being like, oh, wow. Like you could just hear that influence of metal big time, but they made it their own too, which is so cool. They're just such a great band. But those guys, I was reminded today, they just posted a photo on their Instagram today of Chris and Todd with Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost.
Yeah.
And that was at the Albert here, which is a small club that, I've played a billion times back in the day. And I was already living in Vancouver at that time, but I happened to be in Winnipeg. I think I was here rehearsing with Ken Mode for a tour at the time. And Celtic Frost, of course, I went to the show because I'm a massive fan. And I remember seeing those guys at the show losing their minds. Like they were raging, man. They were like, I was too, but I was like, whoa, it's a Propagandy dudes. I didn't even get to talk to them, I don't think, at the show, but because they were just going nuts, man. They were going off. So it was cool to see, like, they're just fans like I am, and it, they were like stoked. Celtic Frost.
God, I love that. Because I'm just picturing them because, they are like Chris and Todd went to that Sacrifice show in Toronto in 2006 together. And they wrote a song about it for the supporting cast record. And then there's a picture of them on the inside of the Sacrifice Propagandy split 7-inch against the barricade, like going nuts while Sacrifice is playing. And I'm just
Amazing.
I was like, this is just so perfect that these guys are truly just music fans who just geek out just like everybody else. It makes it a lot more accessible. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally, man. Yeah, it's super cool, man. That's just awesome to see that. I mean, yeah, like I say, that memory of that Celtic Frost show just sticks in my mind. Like,
the knowledge last unknown. Lost. Go.
All right. Thank you to James Burton and Jahmeel Russell for participating in our conversations about Lost Through Time.